You guys already know what I'm about to say. All right, thank you.
Huh?
All right. Great event, huh? Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the other speakers, the region staff, the district managers. Can I have a real quick round of applause for all of those people? Yeah, this is one of my favorite events every single year, and what makes it exciting is I really do believe, I've been, this is my, I think it's 10 or 11 times to Olean for me. And one of my favorite things at this event is the point of commitment. And I can see it every year. There's certain people who were, questioning whether, I don't know, can I do it? Can I run an office? I'm not sure. And then sometimes that lack of confidence doesn't always come across in their speech, but it's, oh, well, I'm thinking about doing this instead, or I don't know if I want to do it, or, and it's rationalized somewhat. And then after an event like this, it's cool as a division manager, you see certain people just have that point of commitment, and I can look back at it every year and say, you know what, that was the moment that person chose to be a champ. And it's so cool to see every year. And certainly we'll have several people in this room who can trace back that moment of commitment to this event. How many of you already feel like maybe that's you, and you're feeling a little more committed after this event? How many of you are there? So great. Here's what I will tell you guys. My goal at this point is to talk about the January program. How many of you know what the January program is? Woo. Awesome. How many of you have worked through a January program in the past? For those of you who are at DMC weekend, you might remember the water on the podium, so I'm going to put that down there. So, for now your talk. All right, so here's what I'll tell you. January program, guys. The objective of January, I'm going to jam here because I don't have a ton of time, and I'm going to encourage you to take a ton of notes here. And I have some stuff that I really think is going to impact you here. The objective of January is to build our skills, advance our development, and grow our profits. That's what the objective of the January program is. What needs to happen for that to be a reality? Well, there's no magic dust. This is a campaign like no other. It's 23 days of intense recruiting. That's what this campaign is. And it leads into a giant training seminar right after Christmas that most of our offices will be packed to capacity, and some of the offices in this region maybe even renting a hotel for extra space. Most offices will have 100+ people set for that post-Christmas training seminar if they do it right in December. And our top offices will have 150 to 250 people set for training the day after Christmas. Launching 25, 30, 40, 60. I've seen 80. It's exciting. Imagine what that looks like and feels like. Imagine what a shot in the arm to your organization that is. Imagine going from 0 to hero in a day. Imagine going from a mediocre sales report to being one of the top in the nation very, very quickly. Rocking PRs like never before, having 8, 10, 15, 20 people calling PRs for 3 days straight right after we launch people on day 3 of training. Celebrating at the end of each day with your staff because you booked up 60, 100, 150 PRs for interviews that day. I'll tell you what, you launch 40, 50, 60 people, you better be scheduling 100 people that day. Right? With all the PRs that you're collecting, rocking PRs like never before. Imagine what that will look like and feel like. Imagine having 75, 100 set for the second seminar, almost all of them PRs. from the first training. You know, this campaign is purely created by our managers. We create the recruiting market in December. Write that down. We create the recruiting market in December. We are in control of this campaign more than any other campaign. Most students do not go actively looking for work in December because they don't believe that it's there. They don't believe they'll find it. Most other companies are not actively recruiting right now. Your campuses are less crowded with recruiters in December compared to September or October. So we have to go to the students on campus and drive the market. You know, we're going to have knockout days. Knockout days is when your office is going to get out 3,000 to 5,000 business cards in one day. 3,000 to 5,000 cards in one day. That's a knockout day. Now, for some of your offices, that's peanuts for some of you guys. Some of you guys are like, we're going for 8 to 10 grand in one day, right? 10K day. We're going to have a 10K day in sales and a 10K day in flyers, right? How sweet would that be? 2 to 3 knockout days per week, right? So what's a knockout day? 3,000 to 5,000 cards out in a day. Can you have at least what? Can you have at least 2 to 3 knockout days per week throughout the entire month of December? Imagine the morning of the 26th. You have 100, 150, 250 people set for training 2 hours from now. And all your hard work culminates in a day that you'll never forget, and a day that could change your career, and a day that could change the perspective of all of your branch and district managers coming out of your office in 2014. You know, you say to the training class, turn to page 3 in your manuals, and you hear a huge rustling of papers as 25, 45, 65 people simultaneously turn their pages. You see a sea of blue books in front of you on day 3. You have 3, 5, 10 stacks of order forms ready to go for your new training class. You have tons of rope and leather ready to go. We're about to produce as much business in a 6-week time period as some offices do in 6 months, if you do it right. And we create it all. It's all in our control. District managers, if you only had one training left to run for the rest of your life, how well would you run it? How prepared would you be? Would your handouts be ready to go? Would all the copies be made? Would your stop-ins be prepped? Would you have role player helpers throughout training? Would you have clean, sharp Cutco for all of your interviews and your training? Would your cutting clinic be ready to go? Would your Cutco look pristine? Would your office have little pieces of paper on the floor, or would you be totally clean, ready to go? How ready for you for an epic training? You know, the PR alley-oopers, how many people are you going to have ready to go? How many people are you going to have alley-ooping on day 3? How will your office look going into the big recruiting push starting on Monday, December 2nd? The Monday right after Thanksgiving. You know, that Monday in many offices is called A Day. Anyone know what A Day stands for? Advertising Day, right? That's a major campus day that day. It's an all-out campus blitz day where every office, and I would say what, most offices in the country will be on campus putting out 5,000 to 10,000 flyers that day and 100 to 500 posters that day. Monday, December 2nd, mark your calendars. Some offices will get out 10,000 flyers in one day. Some of your managers only ordered 10,000 business cards for the entire month of December. So if your manager ordered 10 to 20 to 30,000 business cards for the month of December, it's your responsibility as a branch and new district manager to go to them and say, I know the reason you didn't order more flyers and posters is because our staff hasn't been doing a good job of using them throughout the whole fall. But I promise you, as many as you order, I will find a way to get them out. In other words, your commitment will give them more confidence in going big. And your district manager going big will benefit you like crazy. And I'm going to talk about the reasons why. That weekend leading into A-Day is Black Friday weekend. It's the biggest shopping weekend of the year for retail. It's also one of the biggest movie weekends of the year. And hitting the same movie theater 3 to 4 times in a day for different showings. It's pretty easy to think about how you can get 10,000 flyers out when you think about having waves of advertising teams hitting the different movie theaters 3 and 4 times a day. You pick 3 or 4 theaters and you hit them each 3 or 4 times a day, it's pretty easy to get the 10 grand of flyers out. Right? Candidates, imagine learning demo creation with a push week type atmosphere for the first 3 weeks of January. It's pretty easy to say, okay, look, we got 25, 35 new people on the team here. This is a great opportunity for me to learn how to drive demos, drive a team, drive a sales number for the week. By the way, Black Friday weekend, it's a great opportunity to get all your people excited about signing up for advertising teams. You do 4 or 5 waves, 4 or 5 theaters, whatever. You flyer the parking lots, and then you do a late night movie with all the people who helped throughout the day. Right? You flyer the parking lot, then you go into the movie, right? And it's kind of like your celebration with your advertising team for the day. By the way, I will tell you that the January program, how many of you feel like, man, I feel like I don't have a lot of experience running a push week. I've been in a push week as a rep, but I have never run a push week as a manager. How many of you feel like that is something that we can improve on, right? The January program is the only chance you will have to learn how to work and manage a push week before the summer, because you'll have the year-end banquet push. Now, you'll be working it too, but you'll also probably have people that you're coaching through the year-end banquet push. It's your only chance. That's the only push week we have from now until next summer. You want to learn how to run a push before you run your first SC1 as a branch or district? This is your opportunity. And the bigger your team gets, the more people you're going to have on your PDI team that you get practice coaching. That first seminar, right after Christmas, we call it the Big Dance, December 26th, 27th, 28th. The calendar falls perfectly this year. Really does fall perfectly this year. Doesn't happen every year. Right? Christmas is on a Wednesday, so every office in the country will be running training right after Christmas, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? That first seminar doesn't make or break your year. Now, we're going to build it big. We want that first seminar to be gigantic. But I want you to understand that first seminar doesn't make or break you for the whole year. You don't need to sell 70 to 100 grand in January to make it worth it to run the January program. I want to tell you, 100 grand January is not easy. It is not easy. I'm not saying none of your offices will do it. We'll have plenty of you do it. It's just not about the first seminar. It's about multiple solid seminars. But you need that big first one to create the sales atmosphere, because your second seminar, even if you launch half as many people your second seminar of January, it's not uncommon for half the number of people to outsell the group that launched the week before it, because now you have this amazing sales culture and atmosphere. So the whole goal from your first training is get a lot of people out there with a sample kit and get some hot sales news floating around. Some offices will pop big, some offices will not. But either way, you pop a good amount of people in that first training seminar, you get all their PRs into the second training seminar, your second training seminar is going to be off the charts. Happens every year. You don't need to have 200 people set, 70 people in day one, and launch 40 people to have a great January. Although we'll have offices in here who do exactly that. There will be some managers in our region who have 75 people in training on day one on the 26th, either in your office or in a hotel room. January and December is a street fight. This is a bare knuckles street fight. This is not a finesse campaign. This is a work ethic campaign. Lots of obstacles. You might have an off launch somewhere along the line. January is about overcoming challenges and obstacles and facing it with a smile. If you expect it to be easy, you might get shell-shocked when it's not. So why do we run the January program? It's an opportunity to get your year kick-started off with a bang. What does it look like? You know, what does a strong January look like? You know, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300 people set. $50,000 January, is that big? 75, 100K month? I'll tell you what, a new manager, first January program, a new manager who does 30, 45, 55K in January, that's a win. That's a win. Other offices might do 70, 80, 100, 150. We'll have some offices in here that really have a legit shot at going after 200. So you might be saying, well, Wes, how is 30, 45, 55, like how is that a win compared to the other manager who did 80 or 100? Well, here's what I'll tell you. If they do 35 to 45 grand as a new manager, that's probably their biggest month since July or August. It's a $2,200 bonus plus the recruiting bonus. So if they launch 50 people for the month, that's an extra $1,250 in bonus for the month on top of their monthly bonus. I don't know if they're going to win a trip. They might not. But is it a win? Yeah, it's a win. It's a win to run the January program, even if that's what they do. They change the entire culture of their office for the new year. The new group of reps come in and they challenge your current representatives. And your current representatives start performing even better. And it's better for everybody. It's more exciting culture. You know, our veteran district managers, you know, 55 to 70K, it's probably not their goal, but is it a win? Yeah, I'd still say that's a win. That's probably not their big goal they were shooting for, but that's a $3,700 bonus. They're well on their way to qualifying for the top level in the campaign bonus as well, getting a $7,000 to $10,000 campaign bonus as well. Yep. Advance your profits and your development learns how to work with larger groups. Right? That's another big benefit of the January program. Opportunity to improve success habits for the year. You know, when you say things, man, I want to get really good at blank before May. I want to really get good at the fast start. I want to get really good at running phone jams. I want to get really good at advanced training pops. I want to get good at my days 4 through 10. Fast start productivity. I want to get great at the key staff programs. I want to nail that AM and MIT program that Kirk Ramsey's got going on, right? I want to get good at that. I want to nail PRs. I want to be as good at the PR name collection talk as Mark Bullard by next May. Well, here's the deal. Now is your chance to dive in as a manager. This is your opportunity. January program is intense, so it's the best time to learn and implement. You can get great spring leaders in January. I can't even tell you how many awesome assistant managers I had from the summer that started 4 months before in January. Happens every year. You add management candidates. You add summer assistant managers. Possibly, depending on how many people you're developing, have AMs for some of your branches and districts going out. So if you're a candidate and you get really good at developing people into AMCs and AMs this January, Your goal should be to help your manager get way more assistant candidates than they ever think they're going to need going into the summer, so that they feel more than comfortable allowing you to have what? Somebody go with you. But that doesn't happen unless you help them be stacked with candidates. Imagine if you found somebody in January who sold 100 to 200 grand this year for your office. You know, Luke Mills he started in the big dance training seminar in the January program, then he was an assistant manager, top branch, Dom, and now a $200,000 or $250,000 a year CSP. You know, for all of our branches and new districts in the room, January is the best summer-like learning experience for you. I'm not saying you can't learn in February, but it's not the same. In February, many of you will already be starting office searching in February. March, you're doing business planning. April, you're starting to get ready to move. You're already thinking about your office at that point. Your learning comes in the next 2 months. Managing representatives that have full-time thoughts and expectations is completely different than managing somebody in October who's a full-time student and working part-time around their classes. It is a different coaching relationship that you have with that person. And January program is your chance to get that during somebody's semester break. It's the last time you're going to experience that before you have people on their summer breaks. The January training class is different than your October training class. In January, you got 70% of the room that still loving the flexibility, but you got 30% of your room that if you appeal to their competitive side, they will go out and crush. Absolutely crush. Major fast start business, rapids for the year, absolutely dominate. But if you run the same type of PDI or same type of coaching where somebody says, oh, you say, oh, how many demos do you have for today? Oh, I got 2. And you say, oh, that's awesome. Because you just got done talking to 10 other people who had 1 or 0. So this person has 2, so they comparatively look great. But when you're talking to somebody who has full-time expectations or somebody who really has an opportunity to go big, it's a different type of coaching call with that person. Intensity of demo creation in the summer. It drastically affects a new manager's results. Extremely different than what you're used to in the fall right now. In the fall, we promote the flexibility around classes. So you could talk to a rep at advanced training on a Monday, right now, right, in the fall. You could talk to a rep at advanced training on Monday, and their next planned demo might be for Saturday. How many of you are experiencing that right now, right? Their next planned demo might be for Saturday, and you're coaching them to come in Thursday night phone jam to get their Saturday booked up. That's different than January. That's different, right? We have our day 3 phone jam, right? PDI first weekend, advanced training. They leave and they have a grand day from advanced training. You have your breakfast phone jam blitz days. You're doing 30 to 60 PCs in 2 days between advanced training and New Year's Eve. Names list PC, helping a rep get 50 to 75 more max on their list so that they can hit their goal of 5 to 7 demos a day. You want to get good at the chicken list talk, which is an absolute secret weapon. You get good at that, your retention's going to go through the roof. Yeah, you do a chicken list talk with them within 48 hours. Right? Why? Because their emotions are harder because you have to work harder as a manager to help this person not give up on themselves. Because since we have higher expectations of the reps, they do more demos. And since they're doing more demos, they run through their initial names of comfortable people a lot quicker. And some of them think about quitting quicker. And they need to be managed better in order to help them to succeed. So it's such a great time to really learn the business as a branch and new district manager and really understand the amount of control we have with the PR program. You know, we can create whatever we're willing to work for. Write that down. We can create whatever we're willing to work for in the January program. So let me paint this picture. You launch them, and then 6 days later, they're at a key staff candidate meeting, or they're at an AMC, an AM napkin talk, right? Or maybe they're at the division meeting that we're going to have the first or second week of January in most of our divisions, right? And we're building a thriving key staff from scratch, quick. Do you think, by the way, just like summer, as a branch new DM, do you think it would be beneficial to learn how to create a key staff quickly? Totally, right? That's just like summer. Then we learn how to promote a conference. What conference is in January? Year-end banquet, right? Just like summer, we learn how to promote a conference and get people signed up. We learn how to coach our champions and handle challenges and overcoming obstacles, just like summer. You know? I assume that you don't want something easy, right? You wouldn't be here if you wanted to sign up for something that was easy. You want to become a better version of yourself and help others do the same. You have to have a healthy attitude towards challenges. It only comes when you take risks. And we have an opportunity. We give an opportunity for people at such a young age that they cannot get the same experience somewhere else. And our business has a lot of fun and glory. It really does. I want you to think about that as you're hanging out in the falls. I mean, it's going to be great. We're going to have a great time. Yeah, we get to go to cool places like Niagara, Puerto Vallarta, Italy. Holy moly, really cool trips. We get to do cool things. We get to have a year-end banquet where we get recognized, we get rewards, we get promotions. I want you to understand how unique that is in corporate America. That doesn't happen everywhere. Why? Why do we get all these rewards? Because the people who get those rewards were willing to roll up their sleeves and willing to work extremely hard to create something that other people weren't. That's why we get those rewards. Some people miss life-changing opportunities because they're disguised as hard work. For an office to be successful in January, you have to overcome some obstacles. It's the best management training you could possibly get before next summer because the intensity of it, that's exactly what you're going to experience in May. Because if you're going to run an office next summer, May is rough. May is rough. It's hard. It's a lot of obstacles. It's a lot of emotions. You just got to keep swinging the bat and hope that you connect. And you might whiff a couple times, but you keep swinging and eventually you hit a home run. And as long as you keep swinging, you'll connect. Some people connect quicker than others, but everyone will connect. But you got to keep swinging. You got to keep getting better. You got to keep finding solutions. And that's what January is about. I'm going to give you a couple examples. You'll have this great plan, this great vision, and the first day of your advertising attack comes, and your whole advertising team, you got 10 people ready to go. You thought you did a good job at confirming them, and nobody shows up. And it's just you with a gigantic box of flyers. You know, or maybe your captains of your ad team don't even show up, and you want to rip somebody's head off. How will you respond? And the districts in the room, I'm talking to you right now because how you respond in December, January is exactly how your candidates will respond in May. And you might say to me, Wes, it was a disaster. We had 10 people lined up to be on campus for our first Big A day. Only 2 people showed up. Our first interview had a 21% show from our receptionist. I don't know if she told people not to show up. I don't know if she gave them the wrong address. How do you deal with that challenge? Do you not advertise the next day because you had a bad experience the day before? I know it sounds crazy, but can you see how somebody might react that way? Or do you dig in with your receptionist? You bounce back strong so that by Wednesday or Thursday, you have a huge sign day and you make up for it. You know, managers realize that everything you do, your candidates are going to be watching you respond. Now, if you're a branch or new district manager in the room, I want you to think about yourself like you're the district manager right now. And I want you to think about all the new AMCs that are going to be coming up through the ranks and how they're watching you. right? You have a bad call day. How do you react? This summer, everyone in this room will experience a bad call day at some day this summer. What do you do when you have a bad day of touches? Phone just doesn't ring that day, right? Do you just ignore it and hope it changes tomorrow? Or you go out there and create calls? You know, if the first interview of the day goes horrible, do you let it affect the next interview? How do you respond when you don't want to get out of bed and you're scheduled to advertise on campus early in the morning? Yeah, we're human. We might all feel that way at some point. Nobody's a machine. But how do you respond when you're feeling that way? Accountability for yourself. Do you do what you say you're going to do? That is a great skill to learn. A great skill to learn. For our branches and new districts, the most important person that you need to hold accountable is yourself. What if you have a low show to training on the big dance? What if you have a low show to training? You're all excited, you're all prepped. It's December 26th. You have a low show. Do you go through the motions or do you find a way to make it great? One year, I had 70 people showed up. 70 people showed up. I launched 50. My best ever. I was so fired up. I was so excited. I was like, I could screw everything up and they're still going to sell a lot of Cutco. And I kind of went through the motions during training. I was so excited. And they could see that I was like giddy excited. I wasn't running my normal training. I was like, holy crap, 50 people, right? And then they came back to day 3 and they had like 5 appointments lined up each. And I was like, oh my God, I totally botched it. Because I was so excited that I kept going off on tangents on day 2, and I didn't leave myself with enough time for the day 2 phone jam at the end. And I was like, I screwed up like the most important part. Yeah, and then the next week I launched 19, and I was so laser focused on this group that those 19 sold more than the 50 did. Another year, I had over 200 people sat, one of my biggest ever. In fact, I think it was my biggest ever. I had 75 chairs lined up. I rented out a conference. This was in Reading, Pennsylvania. I had a terrible show. 200 set, 33 show. Yeah, talk about a shot to the gut. I was expecting 80 to 90 people in front of me, and I had 33 people. Some of my top people I was most excited about weren't there. And I needed to gather my emotions before I started opening comments. I gathered up all my management candidates, we huddled up, and I was like, okay, you're about to watch me light the world on fire. Woo. Because we're going to launch every one of these freaking people. Nobody's going to quit, and each of you are going to sell at least $4 grand for the year-end banquet push. Many of you are going to sell 8 to 10 grand for the year-end banquet push, and we're going to crush January. You got it? And they said, yeah. And I said, good, let's go. And we rocked it. And that was my pre-opening comments pep talk, right? To my management training class. It was just as much for me as it was for them. I had to psych myself up to run the seminar because I was bummed. I was waiting for like 80 people and 33 showed up. How do you respond to that? You know, a couple things about January here. It's the biggest challenge of January. You want to write down the biggest challenge of the January program is getting out enough posters and flyers. That's the biggest challenge of the January program. Most managers' active advertising plans don't match up with their recruiting and sales goals. If you tell me you want to do 100 grand and you've only ordered 10,000 flyers and posters, I'm going to laugh in your face. All of this campus work is only 25% of your touches, but it's a very important 25% because it's 35 to 45% of your sales from campus. You got to understand what happens to most managers. They bust their butt on Monday, they bust their butt on Tuesday, they get like 5 or 6 touches from their advertising, and they completely pull off the gas, and they shortchange themselves. A key to nailing January is consistent effort. Last thing I want to talk about, right? Multiple training seminars, multiple sources, not just relying on one advertising source, and nailing the campus before finals let out. And think about going big. So managers, if you want your candidates to really know what it's like to run a great office, show them how to really fight and overcome challenges in January. So, you might be sitting here thinking to yourself saying, Wes, I know you talked about what a win is, but I want to go after 200 set. I want to go after $150,000 to $200,000 January. If that's the case, make sure your recruiting and flyering goals are in line with your sales goals. Alright, so now that I've grounded you a little bit with the challenge of January, I'm going to wrap up here. What's really possible if you did it right? And what gets you fired up to think about? Maybe it's going after your biggest set number ever. Maybe it's going after doubling your biggest set number ever. Maybe it's having your biggest launch. Maybe it's having the best January ever in your territory. Maybe it's advertising like you've never before and really nailing it. Maybe it's running your best training ever and getting the best first weekend pop you've ever had. Maybe it's having your first few $10,000 fast starters. Maybe it's taking pride for the candidates. Maybe it's taking pride in helping your office become a national contender in January. Maybe it's finding 5 rock stars from January that replace your current AM staff this spring, and those people, your current staff gets promoted to branch and district, and you find these 5 new rock stars that are going to come in and be some of your MVPs of the summer. Committing to winning Puerto Vallarta. Oh yeah. Maybe it's getting off to a great start on Italy by building your skills now. Districts, maybe it's qualifying for campaign bonus with 1 month sales. And new DM shipping $50K in January, you get a $3,000 quantum bonus, right? And a monthly bonus of over $5,000. That's $8,000 in bonus money that you're earning from the first month of the year. So, I hope that you got something out of this message. I hope that it got you thinking differently about the next 10 weeks. And I want to challenge you to think big, because if we as an organization are going to have the 2014 that we want as a region, it's going to be because the people in this room take the ideas that you got from this message and this conference back to your offices and light the world on fire. Let's crush the January program and have a big success.